What if someone asked you to describe your hair? Do you know the characteristics of your hair, your curl pattern, your hair texture, your hair porosity, your hair density? Do you know? Well, I'm going to tell you about it all today. So stay tuned and keep watching. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So the four main characteristics that we're going to look at are the curl pattern, the hair texture, hair density, and hair porosity. Sometimes you would hear curl pattern referred to as a hair type, or maybe the hair texture referred to as a hair type. It all depends, and sometimes people use these terms interchangeably, but as long as you know what they're referring to and what it means, then you're good to go. So let's get right into it. Curl pattern. You might have heard me refer to my hair on this channel as 4C hair, and I'm basing this on the hair typing system that was introduced by a celebrity stylist called Andre Walker. While this hair typing system is not perfect and has actually come under a fair amount of criticism over the years, it is actually, quite helpful for at least having a baseline idea of what your hair is like. It is determined first by the shape of the follicle from which your hair grows. So more oval shaped follicles produce curlier hair and circular shaped follicles produce straighter hair. But more visibly, it's about the actual shape and curl pattern of the hair strand, right? So type 1 hair is straight, type 2 wavy, type 3 curly, and type 4, which is what I have, is more coily. And then there are sub-classifications from A to C based on the weight or diameter of the actual wave, curl, or coil. So type A's have a wider pattern, type B's a medium pattern, and type C's are the smallest of the three. So when I say that I have 4C hair, what I'm saying is that the actual shape of most of the strands on my head are coily, in that the diameter of the coil is very small, almost not visible. Does that make sense? So type 1s, like I said, are straight, type 2s wavy, type 3s curly, type 4s kinky. And the diameter can either be wide, medium, or tight, or small. And here is an actual picture of what those strands look like. The easiest way to really see your curl pattern is when your hair is sopping wet. So when your hair is very wet, you actually see your real curl pattern. So you see 4C, the diameter of the coils very small. And I should probably mention here that a head of hair might have different curl patterns. Just so you know, I have 4C hair. I have my curls, or should I say my coils, are looser at the back of my head. And that's not uncommon. There are a lot of people who have different, maybe even up to 3 hair curl patterns on their head. So that should not, you shouldn't find that surprising. So I wanted to show you an actual picture of what the different hair patterns look like. I don't have type 1 in this picture. Well, it's not my picture. I just got it somewhere on the internet. And I wanted you to see the actual look of these different curl patterns. As you can see, the A curl patterns are wider, the curls or coils are wider, and then going towards the C, they are more tight. They are also more prone to shrinkage. You'll notice that most people with type 4 hair, they actually have to pull the length of their hair down in order for you to see the actual length. But all type 4, all hair grows, but type 4 hair is always, especially type 4C hair, 4C hair has always gotten a bad rep for, people feel that it doesn't grow. But I personally know a lot of people, not personally, I know them on YouTube, who have very long 4C hair. I follow quite a few. Here's one, West African baby. She has great content. She has hair down to, I think, maybe her thigh now. And there are many others like her with very long 4C hair or whatever type 4 hair that you have. What I'll say is when you first go natural, you might have expectations for how you want your hair to look. Maybe you've seen some pictures on the internet and you have an idea that that's how your hair is going to be. But the reality might be different from what you see on the internet. And that's fine as long as you understand your hair type. And that's why I'm showing you all these different types of hair. Not everybody has thick hair like, West African baby. A Aditi hair has more finer strands, but the hair is still beautiful. It's just about knowing how to style your hair, knowing what works for it and what makes it pop, right? So the next one that we're going to look at is the hair texture. Are your hair strands coarse or fine? This has to do with the actual diameter or width of your hair strand. Like how thick is it? How large is the hair strand? An easy test is to take a strand of hair in between your fingers and roll it around. If you have coarse hair, you would actually feel the strand in between your fingers. Sometimes it feels as thick as a thread. And when your hair is fine, you might not even be able to feel that strand at all. It's so light, you know. So this is very important. In those, when we talked about West African baby before, I mentioned her. Her hair is very coarse. She has very thick hair strands, and Aditi has fine hair strands. So we might both have the same curl pattern. That's 4C, but your hair texture is coarse and mine is fine. So we cannot use the same products, right? So this is an important thing to know about your hair. My hair, I would say, is more on the medium side. It's not very coarse and it's not very fine. So it's important to know this. I hope that makes sense. This next one is easy. Many people refer to this a lot. As in, it has to do with the actual number of hair strands that you have on your head, right? Here's a visual representation from like very light hair, so not many strands of hair, to heavy, which is like very dense hair, so many hair strands. And people refer to this description a lot. They'll say, oh, your hair is very thick, or your hair is scanty. I've heard people say your hair is scanty. They don't mostly use thin, they would say scanty. And an easy way to tell if you have dense hair, I mean, you can tell visually just from looking at someone's hair that it's thick, or maybe running your fingers through the hair, which many people don't like. Or you can do the ponytail test where you do a ponytail and measure the circumference. If it's circumference is from 4 inches and upwards, then it's highly dense hair, and then the lower density is less than 2 inches. But it's subjective, it's relative. My hair might be dense, but standing next to another person with very dense hair, then it looks like my hair is not that dense. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's just an important thing to know about your hair. So this next one, I've heard it said that it's the most important thing to know about your hair. Hair porosity, right? This has to do with your hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. And it's determined by how tightly packed your cuticles are. Your hair cuticle is the outermost layer of your hair, and if they're tightly packed, they prevent, they inhibit quick absorption of products that you might apply on your hair. And if they and that's low porosity, right? If they're tightly packed, they prevent that quick absorption. And if there's high porosity, it means that your cuticles are not as tightly packed, so they easily absorb, but they also easily lose moisture, right? Or whatever product that you put. And a quick test is to take a few strands of your hair, clean hair, I might add, put them in a glass of water. The glass should be full. Place your hair strands in the water, and if they quickly sink to the bottom, then your hair is highly porous because they've quickly absorbed the moisture and they've sunken to the bottom of the glass. If they take their time getting to the bottom of the glass or they don't sink at all, then it means that you have low porosity. Does that make sense? So what does all this mean for you? What I've learned is that most of the characteristics of our hair are genetically determined, but there might be other outside influencing factors to varying extent. So what do I mean? Say for example, you notice that your hair is thin, as in you don't have many strands of hair on your head. That might be because that's simply what you were born with. That's it. That's your natural hair. That's what it is, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. Or it may be that you did maybe a lot of styles that had tension at some point in your life, causing your hair to break off and causing that thinning. And so if you start doing the right things, avoiding those high tension hairstyles, you might find that your hair goes back to its natural state, which is, thick hair. You get what I mean? Other than that, those characteristics just help you to have certain guidelines for your hair. For example, your color pattern will help you when shopping for hair products. Your hair texture will help you know what kind of products you use. For example, fine hair will not want very heavy products because it's just gonna weigh down the hair, and that's not good, right? Coarse hair responds better to heavy butters and creams, and you have to deep condition very regularly. Thin hair, you want to avoid tension to the scalp, avoid sulfate shampoos. These are things that you can find on the internet. You can just go Google it yourself. Just I was just trying to help out here, but in order not to make the video too long, I've tried to explain what they are. If you can understand where you fall on the spectrum with regards to your porosity or texture, whatever, you can now go and research how to care for that particular hair type that you have, right? It would be near impossible for me to go over the different possible combinations that might exist and try to tell you how to care for them. That is something only you can do. I only know how to take care of my particular type of hair. But I do hope that this video was useful in helping you understand some of these terms that we throw around. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please drop me a comment below on what you think your hair type is. So what I mean is your density, your texture, your curl pattern, your porosity type. All right. See you next time, guys. Thank you. Bye.